The shooting of 2 National Guard members near the White House, one fatally, triggered a forceful national address from President Donald J. Trump. The suspect, an Afghan national who reportedly entered the U.S. through Operation Allies Welcome, immediately transformed what could have remained a tragic criminal case into a national flashpoint. Trump labeled the attack an act of terror, framed it as proof of systemic immigration failures, and announced the deployment of 500 additional National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. His response raises critical questions about whether this is firm leadership in a moment of crisis, or strategic political maneuvering. On one hand, Trump's remarks can be viewed as a decisive effort to restore confidence and assert control. A targeted attack on uniformed soldiers in the Capitol carries symbolic and security implications. By condemning the act as evil and promising accountability, Trump projected authority and offered reassurance to an anxious public. Reinforcing security around D.C. may also deter copycat acts and reassure military families and law enforcement communities that the administration takes the threat seriously. Furthermore, the suspect's immigration background inevitably invited scrutiny of refugee vetting procedures. Trump used the incident to emphasize what he argues is a national security weakness, lax screening mechanisms and lenient immigration policies. For supporters, this reinforces a long-standing belief that tighter borders and more stringent vetting are essential to public safety. However, several criticisms complicate the picture. First, Trump's rapid shift from an individual criminal event to a wholesale condemnation of immigration systems risks stigmatizing entire communities. Using a single violent act to justify sweeping policy changes may exacerbate xenophobia, reinforce harmful stereotypes, and further polarize public discourse. Critics argue that this framing treats immigration not as a human reality but as a political tool. Second, the decision to deploy additional National Guard forces intensifies debate over the militarization of domestic life. Washington, D.C., has already seen controversial federal interventions, and deploying more troops, especially under an administration criticized for expanding executive control over security forces, raises concerns about civil liberties and democratic norms. Increased military presence may temporarily improve security but does little to address broader systemic issues such as gun violence, mental health, or social inequality. Third, Trump's speech fits a pattern of politicizing tragedy. Rather than centering the victims and focusing on investigative clarity, the event became a springboard to reinforce long-standing political priorities. This approach may energize a political base, but at the cost of inflaming tensions and overshadowing deeper structural challenges. In essence, Trump's address attempts to frame the tragedy as evidence of a broader national security crisis rooted in immigration policy. Whether this represents necessary state action or opportunistic political escalation remains a sharply contested question, a reflection of the wider divides shaping American political life today.